Hey everyone, and welcome to Kelsey's Corner. We have a special guest here today for you. They are a singer, dancer, actor, burlesque dancer, voice actor. There's so many different things that this person does, and I am happy to call them one of my best friends. We grew up dancing together. We both joined the Detroit Tap Repertory when we were 11, I think, years old, and we've been friends ever since, and we grew up dancing different festivals around the country and training together under Miss Denise Caston Clark. And yeah, without further ado, I'd like to present Katherine Lieblang. Hey, Katherine Lieblang.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Good.
Yeah, long time no see,
I
literally.
know. What, Christmas?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a long time. So, you are in town because of the quarantine, so you're back in Michigan for a little bit.
Yes, that's why it looks nice. Because otherwise you'd be seeing my shoebox apartment.
So, you've been living in New York for how many years now?
Oh my gosh, almost four.
I think.
After I graduated high school, I stuck around here because I wasn't sure like what I really wanted to do. I was in community college and then I was in a bunch of choirs through college because I know that I really love to sing. So I was in the college choir, Henry Ford College concert choir, and I was also in their vocal jazz ensemble. So that was called Blue Fusion Vocal Jazz Ensemble. I was in Vanguard Voices, which is a large choir of like, I mean, at the time that I was in it, I think it was like 80 people and you have to audition to get in. And then I was part of the Aeolian Chorale, which was a very small choir that you had to be selected to be a part of. But I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I thought that I wanted to go to acting school, but I wasn't really sure. And it was actually Chloe Arnold. I talked to Chloe Arnold and she was like, okay, so I don't really know you that well. Like, who are you? Like, what do you do? And she was like, are you like in school? Like, what are you studying? What do you do? And I was like, I'm in community college, but like, I don't really know. Like, I think I want to go to acting school, but I'm not really sure. And she was like, is that what you want to do? And I was like, I think so. Yeah. She goes, okay, so I'm going to give you a list of 4 or 5 acting schools. And what you're going to do is you're going to research them and see if you want to go there and then go take a tour. And then that's your homework. And so she gave me a list of acting schools. And one of them was the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York City. And so my parents and I went there and we took a tour and I decided that that's where I really wanted to go to school. And so, yeah, I went there in 2016. And I lived in the dorms there for a year. It's in Manhattan. It's on Madison and 30th, so right by the Empire State Building. Yeah, and so that's where I ended up going to school and graduating from. So yeah, I've been in New York for, yeah, I want to say 4 years.
So I know you are a triple threat, and so you've been doing like a whole bunch of stuff. So can you tell us first about your dancing experience?
Okay, so I started dancing when I was 4 years old at the dance studio that used to be a couple blocks away from my house, but has now moved and is much larger. But Noretta Dunworth School of Dance. If anybody remembers Amy Yakima from So You Think You Can Dance, she was from my studio. I grew up with her. I was not nearly that kind of dancer, but I decided to move on and pursue tap specifically, just because that's what I really wanted to do and was interested in. And I had met Denise Caston from the Motor City Tap Fest, and that's where I really got interested in just pursuing specifically tap. And that's where I met you when we were wee little babes. So yeah, Denise invited me to be part of Detroit Tap Repertory, which is where I also became really good friends with you. And then I worked with Professor Robert L. Reed for a few years before he passed away. And then since moving to New York, I take classes at Broadway Dance Center and Steps on Broadway. I work a lot with Ray Hesseling. Oh, excuse me. I got sniffly. I'm working with Ray Hesseling, and I've been involved with a couple of projects, like with Tap 24/7, who you also work with, and with Anthony Locascio's #Tap Life. So I've been out tapping my little heart out.
So I think we joined Detroit Tap Repertory. We joined at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's been like 11 years or something, 11 or 12 years.
No, it's been like 12 or 13, I think.
Really?
Yeah, I think it's around 12.
Yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. And now I know you mentioned being in a ton of different choirs
Yes.
before you moved to New York. What has your singing experience been like after you moved to New York?
It's been, you know what, I haven't been able to do as much singing as I would like. The school that I went to is more focused on stage and film acting and not as much on musical theater, although we did have singing training, and we did have a musical theater course that you could take, which I did, and it was super helpful. It actually, I didn't realize for a lot of my life I was speaking and singing incorrectly. I was using my voice not in a way that was healthy, so they really helped my voice open up and make it more resonant, so my singing is so much clearer than it used to be. But I haven't really gotten to do like any musical-y stuff. So this past year I was in a cabaret that was at the West End Lounge, and I got to choose 3 musical theater songs or any song really that I could sing if I wanted to. My friend is in the process of turning a play that she wrote into a musical, so fingers crossed I have a part there, so we'll see how that goes. Coronavirus kind of threw a monkey wrench into everyone's plans. But for my burlesque act that I just came up with, I also threw some singing in there. So now my goal will be to keep training my voice and audition for more things to sing in.
Now, I know you've been working on some voice acting type things.
Yes.
How's that going for you?
So we just wrapped yesterday. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, because a couple people have told me, like, you have a really like kind of cartoony sort of voice. My goal, hopefully, would be to be in like an Adult Swim type cartoon show, or even like children's shows or video games. I think that would be super cool. But so I was invited to audition for this thing called Tales by the Fire. A friend of mine who also I danced with at Noretto's, she was involved with this group and sent me a Facebook invite. So what they are trying to do is bring back radio theater, because people can't gather and act on a stage right now. So in the days of the radio, that's what people would do, is they would have like audio plays. So they brought that back. They're doing retellings of like folk tales, which is really interesting. So in the one that's coming up, it's a retelling of a Russian folk tale. It's called Death and the Soldier. And I play an old lady and 2 small children. So voice acting is super interesting because, you know, people say with acting like, oh, you really get to be whatever, but there still are kind of some constraints sort of based on what you look like, what you sound like. A little bit with voice acting, people have no idea what you look like, and you can change your voice to do anything. So you can really be anything, and people are only gonna be able to imagine from what you hear, which is great. I think it's super freeing that you can be, you know, I could be a squirrel or a butterfly or an alien if that's what I was cast as. And I think it's really fun. I want to do more of it.
That's awesome. Going back to the whole theater and singing and dancing, triple threat stuff like that, how do you feel that all 3 things are important to train in? in that line of in that career life?
I think it's good to have a basis in each. Even if you're not an expert at all of them, I think it's important to have a basis in each. I think, there is an acting element that comes with dance. In dance, you're telling a story with your face and your movements. And I think if you do have a little basis in acting, you can really connect to the music and tell that story. But also because with an acting role, you never really know what they might throw at you. Maybe your character has to sing something. And if you're nervous about it, it's good to have a little bit of singing training, unless, the character is supposed to sound bad for whatever, and that might happen too. But it's good to have at least a little bit of training so you're never thrown off guard. It makes you more marketable. I hate to use that word, but it does. It makes you more marketable because they see on your resume, oh, you have training in dance. And then even if you're not hired for the thing that you're going for, sometimes they really do hang on to those headshots and resumes and keep you in mind for something else. Because you might not be right for whatever the audition you're in for, but if they like you, they might go, I have this other project coming up. This person might be a good person to bring back into the room. So you kind of just to have a little bit, you never know if your character is going to have to get up and dance. You never know, if somebody like sets a piece and you need to have a little acting bit in it for a dance, you have no idea.
I auditioned for Annie on Broadway when I was younger, and I made it to like the top 3 for the role of Molly. And
Wow.
yeah, and it was like really cool. And then they ended up giving it to the girl that got Annie's younger sister, so they wouldn't have to, pay double stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a couple years later, they called me literally out of the blue and said, "Hey, we want you to fly back out to New York to audition for Oliver." And
Wow. Yeah.
I'm auditioning for Annie. So it all connects, and
It does. It totally does. And everyone knows each other too, so you never know who they're talking to.
True. Now you've been living in New York for 4 years now.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think you've like finally adjusted? And are you like a New Yorker, or do you still feel like weird that it's not Michigan, or do you like Michigan better, New York better? What do you think?
You know what? It's very interesting because the kind of joke that New Yorkers have is that, oh, you have to, I think the amount of time is like 7 years. You have to live here for 7 years before you're a real New Yorker. But then there are all these jokes too, like, oh, did you cry in public? You're a New Yorker now. Like, because it is, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love it there. Otherwise, I would not have moved there. But it is a very tough and aggressive city. It does kind of chew you up and spit you out sometimes. The people there are aggressive. I'll definitely say that New York has made me more aggressive because you do have to stand up for yourself a lot. Be safe, though. Please don't be dumb. Don't be like, oh, well, Katherine Lieblang said you have to be aggressive. Don't start fights with people. But, I mean, look, you're going to see some weird things, but you see weird things anywhere. But it's just, there are so many people in New York that you're just going to see more of it because there are more people. But it's very weird. The slight even cultural differences, even just within the same country in just a different place, are kind of odd. People still laugh at me for saying pop. It's not soda, y'all, it's pop, but okay. And I feel like people in the Midwest, we have this reputation for being very polite. But in New York, everything is so fast paced that people just kind of don't, mess around. They don't beat around the bush with anything. And people are shocked when I'm really polite with them. I'll be like, oh, yes, please. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And people are like, what? Just because they're so used to, yeah, whatever. Okay, just get it done. I'm like, oh, thank you so much. I hope you have a great day. And I also get made fun of for my accent a lot too. People are like, where are you from? Your A's sound funny. I'm like, yeah, I'm from Michigan. My Michigan accent is severe. So, you know, it still takes some getting used to sometimes. It's always crowded. There's always, it's kind of sensory overload sometimes. But there are a lot of beautiful parks. There are a lot of fantastic restaurants that I love. And there's just so much cool stuff happening all the time. People playing instruments, singing in the subways, on the street. So it's very vibrant. I think that's the thing that people say about New York is that it's vibrant and it has a great energy. There's a lot of, not so great stuff there too. It smells really bad in the summer with all the trash on the street. Like there are things, and there are political things happening. But I think it is such an interesting place for artists. I think artists really thrive there, just because there are so many people to connect with, and it still definitely takes some getting used to. I do miss Michigan a lot. I miss all my friends here, especially. There's also just like Michigan specific things like Big B coffee or Fago pop or Coney dogs, or, I'm from Dearborn. So like really good Middle Eastern food. Maybe I'm just in the wrong spot. I can't find good Lebanese food in New York, which is disappointing, surprising to me, but there are specific things that I miss. But, that's why I have to come back and visit and hang out.
So going back, you mentioned that you started doing a little bit of burlesque. First of all, can you tell us like what that is for some people that don't know?
Okay, so burlesque, it is an art form that has its own history, and I do need to delve into the history more. But it started really, I would say primarily in the late 1800s. If I'm not mistaken, it started from an Italian literary genre, that burlesque being things that are comedic and funny. And so people who were burlesque performers, a lot of it was comedy, a lot of it was very within like variety show, vaudevillian type stuff. A lot of it was some like cross-dressing. People would cross-dress as other people to like make comments about society. So it was very much like often a very silly thing. And then I think around the 20s and 30s, stripping became involved with it. And so now it's kind of this blend of, sometimes it's comedy and yes, it is, for a lot of people, it is taking off clothes, but I've also seen a burlesque performances where people are putting on clothes. So people like to flip things around, use it to make artistic and political statements, because that's kind of always what it's been, is using clothing and costuming to dress up as other things and kind of make little jokes about like what's going on in the world.
What inspired you to start doing that?
So I met this person in Ray Hesseling's class. Her name is Jen Minsky. She is a tap dancer and burlesque artist. Everything that she does is very 20s and 30s inspired. And she's so cute. She's got like this cool, like bright fire truck red bob. And she's got cute like tattoos and stuff. She's very cool. But everything she wears is vintage style. And I just thought she was like the nicest, coolest person. So I started talking to her. And yeah, she told me that that's like what she does. And Ray Hesseling choreographs for her. And I don't know, I just was like, wow, that seems really fun. And I like costuming, and I like, I know I'm kind of a tomboy, but I also love like glitzy and glamoury type things. So I was like, I feel like that would be kind of a thing that I want to try it. I at least want to try it. So I reached out to her. I just messaged her on Instagram and was like, hey, I know that this is like a whole thing, but where would you recommend that I go to like even just dip my foot in? She was like, definitely go to the New York School of Burlesque. They have a class where you can put together an act and then you perform it. And I was like, oh my God, really? So I signed up. I was so excited. I signed up for it with the teacher whose name is Joe Boobs Weldon. She's been a performer and activist for many, many years. She's kind of, she is like considered kind of an icon in that community. And she taught the class, and she was really fun and really nice to work with. So that's kind of how I, got my, dove into that pool.
Yeah, I know you have met a ton of different artists in all the different genres throughout the years.
Yeah.
Most of the years we did it together and we met.
True.
And who has been the biggest inspiration for you as a dancer, singer, anything? I know it's a very big question.
Oh my God. It's going to be multiple people. It's going to be multiple. I would say, for one, Denise Caston, because she really just opened a lot of doors for me in the tap community. If it hadn't been for her, I definitely would not have known that the tap community even existed. If it wasn't for her starting Motor City Tap Fest. Also, I'll just shout this out. Denise used to tutor me in math when I was in high school. So not only did she help me with dance, but she tried to help me get through high school. So her, that I'm going to say Professor Robert L. Reed. He, I think, really instilled the work ethic that I have. He was very much a perfectionist. Love him or hate him, he was very much a perfectionist of, listen, you messed up, you got to do it again, and you're going to keep doing it until you can't get it wrong. And I've carried that into how I prepare for performing, because he used to say, you can't always be perfect, but you can be excellent. Because perfection is a hard thing to strive for. Because what is that? But you can be the best that you can be. So I really thank him for the history and the technique that he gave me and the work ethic. Acting wise, oh my God, I had so many great teachers at my school. I'm not gonna lie. I would say the three or four that were really, really huge for me were Susan Pilar, David Dean Bottrell, Maggie Lowe, and Michael Toomey. I think they were all just really wonderful teachers. They all have incredible accolades. They've all done a million things. But I think the thing that it's a similar thing is that none of them would beat around the bush with you. They would always say hey, this is the criticism I have, and here's why. And there was no room for excuses. You either try again or you don't. And it's the same kind of thing of hey, look, here's what I see from the outside as the director type role, teacher type role. Here's what's going on. This is what you need to work on. And they were very honest with you. And they would sit down and talk with you as a person, as an artist, and not just be like, no, that was wrong, because I hate when teachers do that. So I would really give a lot of accolade, a lot of praise to them. Singing, I mean, I've had some really great voice teachers, but you know who I'm gonna say my big inspiration is. You already know. My big inspiration is David Bowie.
Oh yeah. I thought it was someone I knew personally, and I'm
no. And that's not to slight any of my teachers at all. It's just that he's been such a huge inspiration. I used to listen to his music when I was growing up with my dad. And my friends who know me know that my room is just covered in David Bowie posters. Other people give them to me though, so it's not my fault. I've just been so inspired that I want to, that man really had an incredible voice, and I just hope that I can have a voice that powerful one day. So that's kind of my inspiration for that.
What's your favorite David Bowie song?
It would be Life on Mars. Life on Mars is my favorite song. I put it in my burlesque act, and my burlesque name, because you have to have a stage name, is Aladdin Firm, which if you're a Bowie fan, that's a Bowie joke. But yeah, it's Life on Mars. I think because it talks about the girl with the mousy hair and about how she's kind of looking at the media and like what's presented to us and longing for this world that's like out there and larger than herself, but also being really confused by all the stuff that she sees. And I feel like that's super relevant right now. Like we all want to be part of this bigger thing, but we get all these mixed messages all the time. And also it's just a really pretty song. So
Okay, well, thank you so much for joining us today on Kelsey's Corner. I hope you had fun.
yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. So everyone, make sure to stay tuned to see what Katherine Lieblang will be up to next. Yeah, see ya.
All right, bye.
Thanks to everyone for tuning in today. And thank you, Katherine Lieblang, for joining us. We hope you have fun here in Michigan during the quarantine and have a safe trip back to New York when you go. Make sure to follow Katherine's social media pages listed right here and stay tuned to see what they're doing next. I will see you guys next time.
He doesn't like me. If there's a problem, I duck it. I don't solve it. I just knock it off.